There aren't many romantic storylines in cinema that are as misunderstood as the relationship between Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala. And yes, the dialogue does often come off as dry and poorly written.
I don't like sand.
But I think what most people don't understand about their relationship is a lot of the underlying factors that create and maintain attraction, and how that attraction can cause people to make bad decisions that lead to bad situations. Welcome back to Shade Cinema. My name is Chris, and today we'll be looking into the relationship and discuss why the love that Padme felt for Anakin led her down a path that led to her doom. But before we start talking about how love killed Padme Amidala, we need to first establish the reasons why Anakin and Padme fell in love in the first place. Anakin's interest in Padme began pretty much the moment he met her. The first thing he says to Padme is,
"Are you an angel?"
A lot of people attribute this to bad writing, and yeah. But if you look at the reasons why a young Anakin would say something like this, it begins to make more sense. He obviously thought that she was beautiful, but it isn't just for that reason. Besides his mother Shmi, Padme is the only woman who saw Anakin as something more than a slave. So because of those reasons, he practically worshipped Padme and tried to spend as much time with her as he could before he was inducted into the Jedi Order. Speaking of which, becoming a Jedi and taking the Jedi vows causes Anakin to not see Padme for 10 years. Which only fuels his desire for her. Absence does make the heart grow fonder, but there is another reason regarding his induction. You see, the Jedi Order forbids its members to have any form of personal attachments to others for fears that those attachments may lead a Jedi down a path to the dark side. And because he became a Padawan at the age of 9, Anakin had already lived most of his childhood having personal attachments with others, namely with his mother and to an extent Padme. Also Qui-Gon, but you know. Anakin therefore has trouble containing his emotions throughout his tenure as a Jedi, but especially during his Padawan learner years after Episode 1 and during Episode 2. He thought about his mother every day and dreamt about Padme every night. These feelings and desires finally begin to boil over by the start of Attack of the Clones. In Episode 2, Anakin is tasked to protect Padme after someone tried to assassinate her. So the two got to spend a lot of time together. They were getting along very well, and then Anakin eventually makes a move and kisses her. He later confesses that the kiss they shared haunts him because he's not supposed to have any personal attachments with anyone, and it's tearing him apart inside.
You are tearing me apart!
Padme.
So they both agree to not continue their romance, but they eventually do so anyways. Why is that? Well, it comes down to the official reason that George Lucas gave as to why they fell in love, which is that this love story is a forbidden love story. Anakin knew that if he gets romantically involved with Padme, he would be breaking his Jedi vows, which in turn would get him expelled from the Jedi Order. Interestingly enough, however, the romance between the two would not have been as intense if it wasn't forbidden. Because Anakin is forbidden to love Padme, it only drives him more into her arms. The things we can't have are often the things we want the most, and that saying is greatly exemplified here. The strength of their desire for each other is fueled by the close-guarded secret the two keep. When you do things that are secretive and or forbidden, you often tend to get addicted to the substance or the activity. That's why girls fall in love with guys that their fathers forbid them to date. That's why people get addicted to hard drugs. That's why people cheat on their significant others. Desire is fueled by excitement and passion, which is often amped up by secrecy, and it's hard to find those feelings in things that are mundane and unimaginative. It is often found in the unthinkable, and in the Star Wars universe, what's more unthinkable than a Jedi breaking his code for love? Now for the namesake of this video. Why did Padme fall in love? Well, there are several reasons. After being apart for 10 years, Padme sees Anakin and sees how much he has grown as a man. Tall, with a youthful vigor, and very handsome.
Pause, and then pause. Dude, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor.
She did say he's still like the little boy from Tatooine, but that's before she sees his matured mindset. After a series of conversations with the young Jedi, Padme begins to see Annie's more mature side in terms of his opinions, and she begins to respect him more as a person, even if the opinions are contrary to hers. And respect is the foundation of love. A person cannot truly love someone without respecting them first. Maturity is also something that women find attractive in a man. Now, though he has his emotional moments, that will be discussed later on in this section. Anakin is also one of the very few people that is straightforward with her when it comes to his opinions. The world of politics is filled with hidden meanings behind words, and politicians often dance around their conflicts with others. Anakin, on the other hand, is open about his political opinions. He openly advocates for a Plato-style quote-unquote wise king dictatorship in front of Padme, who is a democratically elected senator who fights for a more decentralized government. Padme enjoys these conversations with Anakin because her point of views were being openly challenged, while power-hungry people in the Senate would never openly advocate for a dictatorship because that is essentially political self-deletion. These conversations also show the maturity that Anakin has, which raises her level of respect that she has for Anakin. Another reason that Padme fell in love with Anakin is actually because of the aforementioned forbidden love. But on Padme's end, it's not just because it's forbidden for a Jedi to have attachments. Remember what I said about a Jedi breaking his code? What's more unthinkable than a Jedi breaking his code for love? Well, something more unthinkable than that is a senator having a secret romantic relationship with a Jedi. At this point in the galaxy's history, the Jedi and the Senate are not on good terms. The Jedi began to see the corruption in the Senate unfolding during the Clone Wars, and effective anti-Jedi propaganda, secretly perpetrated by Chancellor Palpatine, caused the people, and therefore the Senate, to turn against the Jedi. If Padme was caught smashing Anakin, her political career would be over in an instant, and the two would be forced to go into exile. This factor fuels the passion of the relationship on Padme's end, because although it is not illegal for Padme to be romantically involved with Anakin, she knew that it would destroy her reputation and the life she currently has. But at the same time, that would amp up the thrill of being with Anakin, despite the dangers to her and her livelihood. But she threw caution to the wind and confessed her love to Anakin, and the couple went all in on their relationship. Now you might be wondering, how could she fall in love with someone who admitted to murdering a whole village?
And not just the men, but the women. And the children, too.
The reason why is pretty psychological, so listen closely. Through research, personal experience, and conversations, I've learned that women tend to like dangerous men. And this can go from men who are fighters like in MMA or boxing, all the way to hardened criminals. You see women thirst over real-life serial killers like Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer, sending them love letters while they're in prison. There's just something in their minds that flips when they see violence perpetrated by a man. It's called hybristophilia, and I think Padme is affected by it to an extent. When Padme heard about Anakin's venture into the dark side, she wasn't scared off, but she instead went over to him and began to comfort him. In fact, it probably kind of turned her on that he could use his powers to commit acts of violence like that. The deeper reason as to why it's so attractive is because if a man is capable of violence, he's also capable of using that violence to protect his loved ones. So for a woman, a man who is capable of violence is also capable of protecting her and her children from potential danger. This is something ingrained in humans since the Ooga Booga caveman days, and it happens to be in the deep subconscious, quote-unquote lizard brain part of our minds. Padme feels as though Anakin's outburst against the Tuskens for killing his mother is the same kind of protective response that Anakin would have if she herself was ever in danger. It's the dangerous person that will protect you from danger. Ironically, it's the danger that she invites into her life to protect her that ultimately becomes her undoing. So Anakin and Padme get married, and they keep their affair a complete secret. But their wedding happened just when the Clone Wars had begun. So the newlyweds would spend a lot of time apart, as Anakin was often on the front lines fighting, and Padme was trying to end the war in the Senate. But when they spent their time together, they were happy. And after a few years, Padme got pregnant with Anakin's child.
It's a girl.
Let's go!
But relationships aren't always sunshine and rainbows, especially when it came to the dynamic between these two. You see, when Shmi Skywalker died by the hands of the Tuskens, Anakin became very overprotective of Padme. Not just because Anakin didn't want to lose another loved one, but because Padme reminded him of his mother. They both provided him with the love and affection he so desperately wanted, two things that the Jedi Order could never have given him. That desire to protect his loved ones gets amped up when Anakin has a nightmare/vision of Padme dying after giving birth to their child. So while Padme was all dreamy about the life that her and her husband will live together, Anakin is trying to figure out a way to save her from death. Anakin's desire to protect his wife at all costs, and promises made by Chancellor Palpatine to teach Anakin the ability to cheat death, causes him to betray the Jedi, and he turns to the dark side. Anakin, now a Sith Lord, is then tasked to storm the Jedi Temple and show no mercy to any of the Jedi he sees. Padme saw the temple in flames in the distance, and begins to worry about her man. Anakin then gets back to her place and claims that the Jedi tried to overthrow the Chancellor, and reaffirms his loyalty to the Republic and to her. He then leaves to go to Mustafar to dispose of the Separatist leaders. Padme is shocked and in disbelief, as she had known many Jedi who never seemed to have that kind of evil in them. Little did she know, she had that very same evil at her place that night. Obi-Wan suddenly comes over to Padme's apartment and tells her that Anakin has turned to the dark side and had slaughtered all of the Jedi in the temple, including the younglings. Padme is totally shocked, as the man she knew and loved would never commit such heinous crimes. She rushes over to Mustafar to confront Anakin and to find out the whole truth. When they finally meet again, she wanted to leave everything behind and live an idyllic life far away from everything. Even after finding out that Anakin had murdered children, she still wants to run away with him. Anakin rejects this offer, and due to his newfound power via the dark side, reveals that he wants to establish a new empire with himself as the all-powerful figurehead instead of Palpatine. Padme, upon hearing this, is horrified with what Anakin has become, but still holds on to the possibility of Anakin becoming the loving and caring person that he once was, by basically begging him to come back to the light. But by that point, Anakin had lost sight of the reason why he turned to the dark side in the first place, and lashed out against her after he saw his former master on his wife's ship. After the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, Padme is rushed to a hospital. We are then hit with the revelation that she is dying, not by childbirth, but because she had lost the will to live. Now, a lot of people have taken issue with this because it just seems so unrealistic. But keep in mind that Padme was deeply, deeply in love with Anakin. Even in the end, when he turned evil, she said,
"All I want is your love."
So when that love was stripped away, it tore her apart both metaphorically and literally. Padme didn't just experience heartbreak from losing her husband's love, but she was also mourning the loss of who Anakin was. The man she loved had died, and without Anakin's love, she did not think she can go on and live a fulfilling life. In her dying breath, she believed that there's still good in Anakin, a distant foreshadowing to Anakin's return from the Abyss a mere 20 years later. It's ironic, the love that she was addicted to, and that gave her so much life and joy, destroyed her the moment it was taken away. I've spoken a lot about Padme's behavior in this video, and I know it feels like she's being irrational in her behavior. That's because love itself is irrational, and it makes people act in a way that you would never have seen them act. Love can be either a source of great joy or a source of great pain, and because love is such a powerful emotion, it can cause you to act irrationally. Padme was so intoxicated with love that she mentally could not get herself to let go of Anakin for her own sake, and she paid the ultimate price for it. You need to keep your brain in the game, and you need to learn to recognize when you're in a bad scenario. If you do so, you can be mentally flexible enough to walk away from bad situations before they get any worse. And if you don't, you run the risk of being in a position where you are unable or unwilling to leave a bad relationship with someone because you're too addicted to the high of love, or you reach a point where there's an element that prevents you from leaving the relationship. So I guess the lesson here is, learn to rationalize your thought process when you're in a relationship so that you can navigate through those bad situations safely, ideally without losing your life in the process. The situations can entail from your partner screwing you over, or your partner is secretly abusive, etc. And you won't even know those things are happening unless you are aware, and you won't do anything unless you are thinking rationally. It is difficult to do so, however, so having a great group of friends telling you how much you're fucking up is crucial. They can help you out greatly, as they're a third party who have no emotional stakes in the relationship. And when the relationship has ultimately run its course, you have to learn to leave it all behind and move on. Cherish the memories and remember the lessons, or else you might end up like Padme, so blinded by love and desire that you cannot foresee your partner's dark deeds until it is far too late. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. If you have any thoughts, comments, or disagreements that you would like to share, please leave them down in the comment section below. I do read and I try to reply to every comment, so I look forward to chatting with you guys. Thank you guys so much for helping me reach the first goal, which was 500 subscribers. Well, we're already way past that at this point, but the next goal is 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you can smash that subscribe button, it would be greatly appreciated as well. Also, if you'd like to have your comment displayed like this at the end of my next video essay, please leave a super thanks in the comment section below. If you would like to watch my other Star Wars video essay about Obi-Wan and why his arc in the Kenobi show was perfect, click the link on the right side of the screen.